guys, we're starting a new segment here at KWTX News 10. We're going to be talking about fitness and health. Each week I'm going to bring in someone locally who knows what they're talking about. My first guest is Rachel Spross. She is a local trainer. She's a local, also, do you have a nutrition certification? You have a ton of different certifications.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about yourself and what got you into fitness?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rachel Spross. I have a personal training certification and a nutrition certification. Lots of, a whole collection of different group fitness things. I got really into fitness because my dad's actually really into fitness. So when I was a kid, instead of taking me to the mall or braiding my hair, my dad took me to the gym.
Nice.
So,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so pretty much every summer that was something that he and I did together. And I grew up playing sports and just being really active. As I got older, went to college, it became kind of a stress reliever. I actually was a fashion design major, so kind of pivoted in my career.
Just
but
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually a really stressful major. I had to make all these different garments and I had projects all the time. So the gym has always been my outlet.
Yeah.
So post-graduation was when I really hit the gym hard and decided, hey, you know what, I actually want to do this with my life. So I got all my certifications and started out teaching 2 classes actually, and now it's become what it is today. So
Very cool. And so where do you, I know you have, you just started Cycle Bar, is that right? Is that where you teach your cycle class?
I'm actually just doing fully independent training right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was doing group fitness for a long time, and I still love group fitness, but for now I'm actually working on building up an online platform of my own, which I'll be sharing more about in the upcoming future for anyone that wants to kind of follow along with that. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on at the time being, and then just one-on-one clients and nutrition coaching.
Very cool. And then I know you're also talking about doing some kind of a competition at some point or going through prep. Now, I know you've gone through the prep phase already. So
I have, yes.
Tell people a little bit about that and what it's like.
Oh,
Because
goodness.
most trainers will not end up competing, and this is one of the reasons we brought her on the show, because you've gone through the process and you know how grueling it can be and how much discipline it takes. So tell us about your prep that you did recently.
Oh gosh, okay. So I did a very long prep. It was a 20-week prep for a bodybuilding show. There's different classes in bodybuilding. I was going to compete in the wellness division, which is, you've got bikini, wellness, figure. Bikini's like super lean, really skinny.
Like 2% body fat, yeah.
yeah, like the model looking girls. Figure is the ones that have just a ton of muscle, like look like they could beat up, you know, probably you.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You know?
Well, I've seen them.
Yeah, no, they're huge. Wellness is actually a newer division that was added recently that's kind of somewhere in between. So they want an athletic, muscular build, but not quite as aggressive as figure. So that's what I was going for, because I'm kind of built that way naturally. My legs are a little thicker, so that's what we decided to go with. That was the first time I'd ever done a prep, so I didn't really know what to expect. It is exceptionally difficult in terms of just staying disciplined and on track. It's one of those things where you have to weigh out everything, like even the tiniest like little last grain of rice.
Yeah.
It's all weighed. My life was all in Tupperware containers. There were no treat meals. I had fasted cardio a lot of times in the morning.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty wild. So I got down to the leanest that I've ever been. We decided right a few weeks before my show to actually not compete yet, because I just didn't feel like I could bring my absolute best. But I did go through I finished the entire process, and now I'm actually starting a bulking phase. So in bodybuilding, you go through cuts, you go through bulks.
Yep.
The bulk is when you're eating in a caloric surplus to build muscle. So that's what we decided would be best for me, just to continue cycling through. So all it comes down to is honestly discipline. I learned a lot during that process in terms of what your body's capable of, and also a lot up here.
Oh, no, it is a mental battle,
Yeah.
especially because the first thing you're cutting out is, you know, the carbs. They go flying down. You know, it just gets.
Yeah, they slowly decrease.
Yeah.
My coach each few weeks we'd kind of bump it down a little bit more. First couple hundred calories I was okay. You know, 300 or 400 calories I was okay, and we got to by the end I was eating like 1,500 calories, and that was actually a little on the higher end than some of us get in the bodybuilding journey. So. I was thankful that I was able to at least maintain that, but I had a few days I was feeling a little rough there.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I was still teaching classes at the time, and there was a couple times I was like, oh, okay.
And you have to keep that energy, and it's just hard when you're just
right,
and then you get hangry and whatnot.
Oh, for sure. There'd be a few times I would text my coach and be like, I am so mad right now, and I have no, people just said hi to me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, just the littlest things. So it was a lot to, just keep, because your life has to continue.
Yeah.
So, maintaining that while also trying to, be a normal, sane, kind, friendly person.
Right.
Yeah, because energy definitely does tank. So it's a lot to deal with. It's something that I definitely recommend for anyone that's a fitness enthusiast to at least try it. A lot of people do a 6-week cut, an 8-week cut. Mine was 20 weeks because it was a little bit slower.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's kind of good you went through a test phase. You can kind of see what it was like, and that you can just jump into the fire, then just feel sick like some people do.
Sure. Yeah, and that's why my coach, I think, recommended that I do a longer one. It was kind of, some people would rather rip off the Band-Aid and just do it fast, but he was like, the longer approach allows us to be a little bit more methodical about it.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever even really considered competing, so it was kind of okay, let's just test the waters and we'll see if we even want to do this bodybuilding thing. Like, do we like this? Can we maintain it? How disciplined are you and how bad do you want it? Turns out I'm actually incredibly disciplined. So,
it's true, she is.
So I'm able to handle it, and it's honestly changed my life. So, and it was a huge learning thing for me in terms of my career and how I approach things with my clients. Even those that don't have bodybuilding goals, you can still learn a lot from that lifestyle.
Oh, definitely. And anybody can build. I'm of the mindset anybody can build a great physique. Like, no matter what your genetics are or anything. Like I have the worst genetics probably ever. Not a fit person in my family. Nobody was strong. Nobody was no matter what it was never anything fitness. So it took me a long time because you just got to know the science, and it just helps so much. And and one of the reasons I also brought you on was because now you're in your bulking phase. You get to enjoy yourself a little bit more.
A little more flexibility.
I assume there's a few cheat meals in there since you're doing the bulking now.
Yes. So I can generally have one. I can even get away with 2 a week, depending. I really, to be honest with you, have kind of gotten used to eating like the chicken and rice and all that. So I don't even crave other things that much, but every now and then it is nice to have that flexibility for a birthday, or my wedding anniversary is next week, so I will be eating a nice big steak over the weekend.
Yeah, there you go.
So it is good to have that for family things and to be social.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And then, because I know we got Halloween coming up, and everybody's gonna be eating candy and doing all this stuff, and
right.
I want to talk about HIIT training because that is the ultimate thing to do if you are about to have a lot of carbs or have a cheat meal. So kind of tell us about some of the HIIT training that maybe people can start doing, maybe like a beginner style workout that can kind of get them in that.
Sure. So I think the main thing with HIIT training is that you just need a timed interval. So you can do 20 seconds, you can do 30 seconds, you can do 45 seconds. Just kind of choose how long you want to work and just pick a work to rest ratio that you can handle and maintain. But I really recommend that people don't do HIIT for over 1 minute marks at a time, because the whole idea behind HIIT is that it's high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to work at your highest level for that round. So if we go much past a minute, generally, you just kind of get into just your normal good old cardio, which there's nothing wrong with that. Steady state cardio has its place, but HIIT cardio, especially if you are prepping for a large meal or lots of candy, maybe you only have 30 minutes. Well, you could either do 30 minutes on the elliptical and just slave away, fine, or we could do 30 minutes and sweat our butts off doing squat jumps and battle ropes and all that in little increments with shorter rest periods in between.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you're able to do the cycle for a minute or even more, you're not doing it right. Like usually for me, once it's 30 to 40 seconds and you feel like you're about to die, you did it right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole idea behind HIIT cardio, and that's where some people, I think, occasionally will miss the mark on HIIT cardio. And I always whenever I was teaching group fitness classes, I would always tell my people at the end of our little buzzer, it was okay, if you're not out of breath, if you're not sweating, if your face isn't red, if you have no signs that you're working out right now,
oh gosh,
we need to pick up the pace a little bit. So it's all about working as hard as you can for that set interval. We have a little bit of time to recover. It allows your heart rate to go up, and then we bring it back down just in enough time to where you're recovered enough to where you can perform the next interval.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing. You can actually rest a decent amount of time in between those intervals, because each set has to be perfect. And if you're not resting, because some people will try to rest maybe a few seconds or 30 seconds to a minute, and then next set they just can't do it. It's one of those things where it's so intense you have to rest a longer period of time. You're just not going to make it.
Sure, I do think that there's different ways to go about it. Like Tabata timing is your 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So those are really, really short rounds.
That's true, yeah.
So you can do it that way. It's more, I think people need to kind of see where they're at in their fitness journey and what they can get the most out of. So someone that's maybe brand new, they might do well with the Tabata timing because it's very, very short.
Yeah.
Someone that is maybe looking for a little bit more endurance benefit, say they're a long distance runner, but they want to incorporate HIIT, kind of what you were saying, by performing like maybe 1 minute intervals, and then we're going to rest and just kind of do some steady state. Like let's use cycling for an example.
Yeah.
Let's go all out, and then we'll rest for maybe 2 minutes in between those 1 minute segments, or 3 minutes between those 1 minute all out segments. It kind of just depends really what your goals are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, because HIIT can be intimidating to people at first, but almost anybody can do it,
Absolutely. You can do HIIT with body weight squats,
Yep.
with, lunges, with sit-ups. It's all about that intensity of how hard are you working. It's kind of it's a little bit up here. A lot of fitness is up here. So you kind of have to analyze that for yourself. You know your body, you know what you're capable of, and kind of what your upper limit is.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing, with HIIT, people's like, if you go to the gym, a lot of people have started to implement this, like people like you, or even just normal people like me. We start implementing it, and people will probably look at us and go, "What are you guys doing?" Because we're like about to die at the end of this. But it's like it actually burns more fat than it does if you're just walking on elliptical for a long period of time.
I think the main thing is that a lot of people don't have the time to spend the amount of time that it takes to really get the fat burning benefits from steady state cardio.
Yeah.
So the bonus of HIIT training is that it's great cardiovascular training. So heart, lungs, everything. You're breathing hard. You're really working. But again, you could spend 30 minutes on the elliptical, or you could spend 30 minutes doing HIIT training. You're probably going to burn, I would say, 1.5 to 2 times the amount of calories in that same amount of time. All that to say, HIIT cardio, I don't recommend people doing that every single day. There's lots of ways to work out. Yeah. We have to be kind to our bodies, and recovery is huge. That's another thing that I really learned in bodybuilding, and I'm still working on perfecting that, actually. Yeah. Resting is become increasingly more difficult for me. I like to go hard, but recovery is huge. So, HIIT training is something that has its place, but we do have to know when to scale back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you start HIIT training, especially as we go through, not just this weekend with Halloween, but we got the holidays coming up, we got Thanksgiving, people are going to be just eating everything in sight. This is going to be, you can implement this maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you can rest in between, even for someone that's a starter, because you have all those rest days.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's, again, so many different ways to work out, and they all kind of have different benefits. So HIIT training in particular is really great for time efficiency, torching calories. But then you've got your strength training, which I'm always going to wave the flag for strength training.
Same here, yep.
If you implement both of those things, and you get the benefit of the added muscle, which when people tell me that they want to tone, what they really want is they want their muscle to show. They want more definition. So we need to build that muscle, and then we also need to fuel our bodies properly so we can have that whole package physique that everybody wants.
Yeah.
You can be the thinnest person in the world, but you might not have visible abs, or you might not have the bicep little,
Right. You got to have something to tone. That's what I've always said.
Sure. And the muscle also, going into the holidays where you are eating more, the more muscle you have, the more efficiently your body's able to work. So basically, you can eat more the more muscle that you have, because your body requires more.
Yep.
So I always recommend to people, if you're looking to lose weight, cardio absolutely is great. HIIT cardio in particular, especially during this time of year when maybe you're going to be eating more.
Yep.
Absolutely recommend. But the combination of the two of them together, boom, that's what you need.
Oh, absolutely. And that's how even those celebrities, I know a lot of people are into superheroes right now, and you see like Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow, you see Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. This is what they did, to get in shape, and that's why they looked fantastic the way they did, implementing intense stuff. And, you really have to force your body to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
And that's just how, it's hard work, but it's totally worth it in the end. I think if people know the science too, they will enjoy it more.
For sure. And you have to get a little uncomfortable in fitness.
Oh, yes.
Whether it's HIIT training, traditional cardio like running, or weight training. If you're doing a military press and you're pressing that set of barbells up over your head and you're just like blowing them out, you probably need to move up on your weight.
Yep.
If you're running, your 2 miles and you're just kind of, whatever, it's probably time to up the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
If you've been at the same pace for a couple months, that kind of thing. Best effort is always going to win at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. That and diet. Diet's huge.
Yeah, you got to have. I've always thought of like 90% on with a really good diet, maybe 10% where you can have a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to start out because, something else I like about you is that on your Instagram, you'll have photos of where you're like eating cheeseburgers sometimes, or
sure, yeah.
It's not like chicken and rice 24/7.
No, it's not.
Or chicken and broccoli, which actually is not a very optimal setup if you're just doing that all the time.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I'm the same way, and you can still stay in good shape even when you have those meals every once in a while, especially when you implement the HIIT like before a workout. Because I also want to get your thoughts on nutrient timing. Now, when you had your carbs, or whenever you did have carbs during the cut, I assumed it was right around the workout or after your workout. How did you kind of go about that?
So the majority of my carbs were before my workout and then right after, and then later on in the day they kind of trickled off a little. I had more carbs than most people do because I was in a little bit of a unique situation at the time because I was teaching so much, and so my cardio and just like the amount of movement that I was doing, I almost needed it even just to function semi-normally. But in terms of nutrient timing, carbs before your workout help give you energy and give you the fuel that you need. And then after workout, they help with the recovery and rebuilding essentially what you've broken down. Because whenever we work out, we actually tear the muscle fibers and then they rebuild. And whenever they come back stronger and bigger.
Yep.
So
that's how it works. And something else I want to talk about right before we wrap this up here is so if people start doing the HIIT training, as we get to the holidays, we also, not only they're going to probably go home and try to throw out the candy right away, but first, they have to have either protein shakes and amino acids, to actually recover the right way before they start, throwing back the junk food and whatnot. What do you like to take post-workout? Do you take amino acids? Do you take whey protein? What's your go-to?
So I'm a big whey protein gal. I keep things pretty simple in terms of supplements. I'm just not one to down a whole lot. I'm big on just good old multivitamins. And then right after workout, though, I always have a whey protein shake. I'll typically do an English muffin or occasionally a bagel with that. That's kind of my carb source. But I keep it pretty simple. I think that's something a lot of people overcomplicate, even with the nutrient timing. For most people's goals, the most important thing: eat less, move more. That's really it. If you track your stuff and you stay on top of it, you can really eat whatever within reason as long as you stay within that kind of caloric range.
Yeah, and and it's also one of those things where you have different tools at your disposal. So like if you start eating less and maybe it's not working at first, then you can start the nutrient timing or starting these different things.
Absolutely.
And have everything to
you've got sort of like the normal, like I'll just say lay person that just wants to, maybe get a little bit healthier, lose a little bit of weight so their jeans fit better. That's somebody that I would say just start tracking your stuff. MyFitnessPal is one that I usually recommend to people. It's a free app. You can just put in all your information. It'll give you a goal each day. And if that's not really working out for you, or you decide, hey, that's working, but now I want more. Bodybuilding is over here and macro counting is over here. There's kind of somewhere in between. So I always tell people not to get discouraged and that there's different ways to go about your goals. You just have to be realistic about your goals because different goals are going to require different things. So for me, the nutrient timing and like eating super clean most of the time, that's just what I like. That's what I'm working towards. But again, for most people, you don't have to overthink it. Just calories in, calories out.
And it's also just a great starting point in general. Again, it just goes back to keeping things simple. Because if you start like doing all these different things at once, you're just going to get stressed out, and it doesn't have to even be that way either. Unless you're like if you're going to compete in a bikini show, like you were saying, like where you have to get down to 2% body fat, then everything has to be
everything
like,
matters
just right,
at
and
that
then you're
point.
stressed out. And it's,
Sure, and I think that's where a lot of people struggle, and that's where having a nutrition coach or a personal trainer really helps, is that can help take the guesswork out. Because I was one of those people, maybe you were too, whenever you first started working out, that was like, oh, well, I'm going to try the keto diet, or I'm going to try this crazy workout that I saw on Instagram or whatever, because that girl does it and she looks great, and oh, well, this guy recommended that like I don't eat any kind of white carbs, or there's so many different things out there. And the fact of the matter is that they might work, but they probably won't work long term. So my personal goal with all of my clients, and what I typically would recommend to anyone, is to go for sustainability. I mean, it's bodybuilding. If it's taught me anything, like the main takeaway is that it's a lifestyle. You have to decide, hey, I want to be healthier, I want to be better, and you just have to stick with it.
Yeah, and it just takes so much practice too, because no two people are built the same. It just goes back to what you said about like someone does a workout, you try it, it doesn't work. I remember I tried the keto diet, and maybe it works for some people, but for me, because I like to work out intensely like you do, like I was like sick like 2 weeks in. I just could not do anything.
Yeah, the keto flu is.
Keto. Oh, it was keto flu. All right. It was just. Because I was like it was like nothing but like MCT coffee and just lots of fats, and it to me, it wasn't worth it. And then on the flip side, I also tried eating like every 2 to 3 hours. Now some people do that, and it works.
I do that. Yeah.
It works for you?
Yes,
I tried that. It didn't work for me. I ended up gaining like fat, and I just lost definition. It just wasn't.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's a great point, that you kind of have to find what works for you. But again, I think just keeping it pretty simple and not overcomplicating it, not trying to be super fancy or do anything wild is just the way to go. I mean, my bodybuilding journey has been very straightforward, and just do the work, stay disciplined, and you'll see the results you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for those of you that are going to be chowing down on the food and want someone to train with, I really recommend her. She does a great job. And
thank you.
On your Instagram, you can look on her Instagram for yourself, and we'll tell them more about your Instagram in just a moment. But just seeing the photos of her and seeing photos of you training people and videos of you training people, you really do know your stuff. And
thank you.
To wrap it up, I want to ask, what would be, if you were to train someone that's like, hey, I want to go through a workout right before I throw back the candy or whatever, like, kind of give an idea what kind of a workout, like what exercises would you do for the HIIT cardio, like for a beginner?
So I would stick with some basic movements, like a squat, a plank, maybe some sprints, some high knees, something of that nature that most people are probably familiar with, as long as you're keeping good form and you're working at your best effort. But again, I'm a weight training person, so I think compound lifts are awesome.
Yep.
So if somebody's only got a short amount of time in the gym, I would say put on your timer, do some intervals with some sprints or any sort of jumping or anything that you can do for a short period of time, but really intensely, and then throw in some of those compound lifts like a deadlift if you're able and confident. Good form always.
Oh,
but
deadlifts are awesome.
But those kinds of things, together, I think is a great combo. If you're going to eat your candy in a workout day, I would recommend, if you really want to get technical about it, probably before your workout is a better time to eat the candy than after.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It would probably. I mean, candy is basically sugar.
Yeah.
So sugar is not the healthiest thing for us. However, it does provide us with that boost of energy.
Yeah.
So if you are looking to maybe hit it kind of hard and do one of those like wild hit cardio workouts, those Sour Patch Kids, the Hershey's Kisses, go ahead and
Kit Kats.
Yeah, if you absolutely have to have them, that's in my professional opinion a better time to have them than like midnight.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for those that do want to end up training with you as we go into the weekend or the holidays, how can they reach you? What's your social media and Instagram?
So my Instagram handle is rsprossfit. So that's RSPROSS fit. So I usually just have people reach out to me on Instagram if they're interested in booking a session. I'm over at the lab on Franklin Avenue, which is where I do all of my personal training sessions. So
awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
that
thank
was
you.
An awesome conversation. Hopefully you guys took something away from it. And I think the big summary of all this is that there are ways to implement fun foods into your diet without, sacrificing, muscle or fat gain. So that's
Absolutely.
It can be done. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.